again, and welcome to ManchTalk. I'm Tammy Simmons. I'm your host, and I'm glad you're tuning in. So today is Tuesday, April 17th, and it's that time of year. It's not quite spring season out there. It is technically spring. You might think it's still winter. There's still snow on my deck, but the season that I'm talking about is tax season. Blech. Who likes tax season? I mean, you got income taxes and then property taxes and taxes. So if you haven't already done your income taxes and paid the federal government for whatever it is we get from them, I read an article. The reason I bring this up, besides income taxes, make sure you get there and do them. You don't want to pay any penalties for paying them late. Yeah, I hate the tax season. But I got to thinking about what I wanted to talk about on the show today. I'd much rather spend my days talking about wonderful new businesses opening on Elm Street and great things to do in Manchester. But every once in a while, if you haven't noticed, I dove back into politics and taxes and things like that. I had an op-ed in the Union Leader over the weekend. I think it was over the weekend, a few days ago, about the budget crisis that we're facing in Manchester and how, we promise money in the way of union contracts that we simply have no way to pay for, and the answer is just raise my property taxes. That's the reality of it. But I read an article online over the weekend from the New York Times, and granted this is primarily about Oregon, but it was telling, and it was about public pensions. And I thought I'd read a little bit from the beginning, and then we could talk about Manchester. The headline is a $76,000 monthly pension, why states and cities are short on cash. Governments are struggling as mounting pension obligations crowd out the rest of their budgets. Oregon faces a severe self-inflicted crisis. And this is how the article starts. A public university president in Oregon gives the new meaning to the idea of pensioner. Joseph Robertson, an eye surgeon who retired as head of the Oregon Health and Science University last fall, receives the state's largest government pension. It's $76,111 per month. Can you imagine? That's considerably more than an average Oregon family makes in a year. So somehow, some way, the legislature in Oregon has built their pension system in such a way that there are retired employees making more money per month on the backs of taxpayers than the average family makes per year in Oregon. That is crazy, people. The article is quite long. Like I said, you can find it on New York Times. It was on April 14th. It was published, so you should be able to find it. They talk about the problem with pensions, and I figured I would talk a little bit about pensions today. As you may have heard me say before, I'm not a fan of public pensions. Private pensions have gone away, and the reason they've gone away is because they're not sustainable. If they aren't sustainable in the private sector, trust me, they're not sustainable in the public sector. Now, there's lots of reasons why this may be. One of the major reasons why pensions, you can go back and say, well, my grandfather had a pension, and, that's fine. But the reason is people are living longer. If you've got people retiring at 65 and they were only living to be 70, 72, that was one thing. But now you've got public employees retiring, say, in their 50s, late 50s, who might live to be 80 or 90. How can any system sustain paying 50% of their maximum salary earned while they were working for 20, 30, 40 years? It's simply not sustainable. The math just doesn't make sense. I mean, New Hampshire's far better off than a lot of states are. There are states that really have underfunded their pension systems, and they will eventually bankrupt cities, states, probably this whole country. That may sound alarmist to some of you, but that's just the reality. When you keep doing something that just doesn't make mathematical sense, it's going to catch up with you. There's rumors that New Hampshire's retirement system might be like 55% underfunded, or that's crazy. The way it works is, as employees are working, they're contributing to the system. So I don't want to make it sound like they're not contributing, or at least I think they're all contributing. And then in the city or the state pays in, depending on where it is. If you're talking about state workers or city workers, and in the city you've got city pensions versus state pensions, the teacher pensions. It's very confusing for somebody who doesn't have the time to sit down and put it all on paper in front of them. So they contribute money into the system and then the system pays out. Well, when it was a little bit more solvent, it made a little more sense. But now you're paying in and it's never catching up. The math just doesn't make any sense. And how do you fix that? Do you switch to what, in my opinion, the logical thing would be switch just like private pensions. They switch to 401ks. Now the problem is you have to honor the promises you made to those already in the public pension system to a degree. I think if it takes 20 years before you can collect, if you're 18 years in, you shouldn't just lose your public pension. But you know what? If you're a year or two in, we should be able to take a little bit of money and drop it in a 401k and call it done. Or on your own, you can contribute to a 401k. The city can choose to, offer up to a certain amount in matching funds. But at least that would be manageable and predictable, and we'd be able to budget for it. If you knew that, 1% of all of your employees' salaries could be contributed to a 401k plan for those employees, that's a number. If your salary line is $100 million, 1% of 100 million is 1% of 100 million, period. It's not a fluctuating number. And then when those folks that leave, maybe they leave the city of Manchester, maybe they move to the other state, they'd be able to take that retirement money with them. But right now, the pension system just can't work. So this got me to looking at Manchester's pensions because, well, let me tell you, first off, this isn't an easy information to find. It's never easy to find information about our city budget. We talk about the city budget in hundreds of millions of dollars, right? And the number just starts to become commonplace. 162 million, 148 million. And then when you it's not until you really break it down and look at it maybe in a little bit smaller segments to see, is this really where you think your tax dollars are being spent? So you might be surprised to learn, if you could find the information on the website. There is a budget book on the City of Manchester's website at manchesternh.gov, but it's a PDF of a scan. It's not even like a searchable PDF. So if you put in police, it doesn't bring you to that page. You have to scroll through, probably like 100 pages of the budget book to be able to look at it. And even then, it's kind of not super clear what those numbers mean. Now, the school budget's even worse. Try to find that information and find out more information about their pensions. It's even deeper, more hid. And I don't know if that's intentional, but it does seem that transparency is not necessarily a forte of our municipal government or our city schools. So anyways, back to the Manchester pensions. On the municipal side, now that's not the side having anything to do with the schools. That's the side where we spend about $150 million every year. The Manchester taxpayers in the 2018 budget, which is what we're working on now, that's what we're operating on. The budget that they're debating in the aldermanic chambers now is the 2019 budget. That's next year. Our fiscal year runs, I think, June 1st or July. It starts on July 1st. So we're rounding out the end of the 2018 budget cycle. But anyways, the Manchester taxpayers spent $18,778,813 in the 2018 budget on pensions alone. Almost $19 million in 1 year on pensions for only the municipal side of our employees. That's 12.6% of our entire city budget, not the school budget. That's different, and I'll talk about that in a little bit. Just on the municipal side. Highway, Parks and Rec, Health Department, Fire, Police, things like that, City Clerk's Office. 12.6% of the entire budget goes towards pensions. That's a lot of money. I don't know about you, but that is a lot of money. So as a comparison to say, well, maybe that isn't unreasonable. Maybe, maybe that's just what it is. So I looked at the police budget and the fire budget and the highway budget. The police budget was $23,147, $23,147,242. So our entire police budget is larger than our entire pension budget, but not by much. 18 million, 23 million. Now then you go to the fire department. The fire department's budget was only $18,883,682. Just $100,000 more than the pension budget. So our entire fire department, everything the fire department does, costs the same amount of money in your tax bill as it does for pensions. Does that seem equitable? And then this one's the one that gets me, because I look at city government, and okay, we can say fire, we can say police, and whether or not we think we're spending too much, not enough, whatever. Those are like the third rail of government. You're not supposed to say anything bad about the police or the fire. But a lot of times when people complain, they don't complain about the fire department services. They don't complain about things. They complain that their roads aren't getting paved. I mean, talk to people at this time of the year when we're avoiding potholes like crazy about road repair and when they're going to repave their roads. I mean, every year we pave some roads, but it never seems to be enough. Well, just so you know, the highway department budget, the entire highway department budget, is $11,763,879. Far less than the pension budget. Think about that. So when you're worried that not enough money's being spent repaving roads, I don't know. Maybe if we switch to a 401k plan in the city, well, I mean, granted, we wouldn't go, all that $18-19 million that we spent on pensions wouldn't just go away. We'd still be doing contributions towards people's 401k plans, but I'm going to guess that it wouldn't be as high as $19 million. Now, in the highway department, this is really going to hurt. $5,189,670 goes towards contracts. 0.079 of the entire percent, 0.079, so not even 1% of the entire city municipal budget goes towards highway contracts. And guess what highway contracts are? Those are the companies that actually pave the roads. So while less than 1% of your municipal taxes, think of it that way, less than 1% of the municipal side of your tax burden goes towards repaving roads in Manchester. And 12.6% of your municipal tax burden goes towards pensions. So we're spending more than 3.5 times every year, 3.5 times as much on pensions as we do on repaving roads. Every year. Year after year after year. And that's just on the city side. On the school side, because like I said, it's a little trickier to find their information. I have a comparison over the last 10 years, or last 10 years. This is 2017, so it's a year out of date. In 2017, the school budget included over $13 million for school pensions. So between the city side and the city municipal side and the school side, taxpayers are spending more than $30 million on public pensions every year. Every year. But yet you only spend $5 million on repairing the roads. If you look at the school, because this would happen to be an easy chart, I was able to do some comparisons. Going from 2017 back to 2007, so over a 10-year span, just so you can see where the trajectory is going. In 2007, city pensions for school, the pension burden for on the school side was $3,457,000. So $3.5 million. 10 years later, in 2017, the pension burden on the school side was $13,286,191. It had gone up nearly 4 times as much in 10 years. That's not a slow trajectory. That's a steep trajectory. And if it's gone up that much between 2007 and 2017, what's it going to look like in 2027? How much are your taxes going to go up just to pay the people who no longer work for the city? I always say the people who work for the city, whether it's in the schools, the fire department, the highway department, the people who pick up your trash, the people who clean the parks, the people who work in the city clerk's office, everybody deserves to be paid well. I'm okay with that. I don't think you should get paid above and beyond what the average salaries are. I think if a job in the private sector would pay $40,000, I don't think it's appropriate if in the city it pays $60,000. we have, I think people should get paid. I think people deserve to get cost of living increases. When there is truly somebody going above and beyond, I think they should get a merit increase. Currently, that's not how we do it. We hire people, we guarantee their steps. So if at the longer they work, the higher they go up in salary range. We have Decker, which guarantees a merit raise every year. They get cost of living increases, and all this stuff's put in contracts, so it's not even negotiable at the time that we have to spend the money. We promise money for years going forward, not knowing where we're going to get that money from, except for the fact that we do know where we're going to get that money from. We're going to get it from your property tax bill. There is no end to it. Pensions can double and they still have the money for it. You know why they still have the money for it? Because they're just going to take it out of your property tax bill. We're at a point where city services are pretty bare, I think. You know, my taxes have gone up 74% in 20 years on my house on Parker Street. 74%. That's crazy. Snow still gets plowed when it snows. It doesn't get plowed any faster or more often. Trash still gets picked up once a week. It's actually, I think, harder to get the police to respond to a phone call now than it was 20 years ago. Actual fires have decreased over the years, yet the demands on the fire department have increased because of the opioid crisis. It's a problem. We don't ever seem to have a good grasp on how we can control our spending in the city. And when we elect people who can't do the hard work, people who won't do the hard work, people who maybe are retired city or state employees themselves. I mean, I don't know what their incentive would be to change the way we do things. Currently, Mayor Joyce Craig, I mean, she was endorsed by pretty much every union, the firefighters unions, the police unions, the teachers unions. You know, I just don't know who's actually protecting the taxpayer at this point. I don't know that we have the votes to sustain an override of the tax cap this year. I'd like to believe that there's enough good people who were recently elected who will actually stand up for the taxpayers in the city of Manchester and not override our tax cap, so that we can, spending can still increase the cost of living, but it doesn't need to increase beyond that. I think it's time that we take a good hard look at some of the ways we do things. We need to get rid of Decker. I think we have to find a way, even if it's a 20-year plan, whatever it is, we have to find a way to switch from a broken pension system that anybody with math skills can see that you need more and more people going into the pension system in order to sustain it now, and then there's more people to sustain later. That mathematically doesn't work. We need to switch to some sort of contributory system. 401ks work in the private sector. They can work in the public sector as well. Or we could be like Oregon, and we can start cutting our services down to nothing. States are finding that where the old mantra that you're just going to have to do more with less, actually what's happening is they're doing less with less. It's not a good path to keep continuing down. It's time that people in Manchester become more aware of what's going on with their money, and that they put pressure on their elected officials to do something about it. So that's my woes on taxes. I'd rather go on and talk about happier things, So it snowed a couple days ago, which is not happy, but it's supposed to be warmer this week, and the rain is washing away what snow we did get. Hopefully by the weekend we'll be done with all this miserable weather and get on with springtime. I'd like to tell you some things that you can do in and around Manchester in this coming week or in the upcoming weeks. As I always say, I tape on Tuesdays. Today's Tuesday the 17th, so if you're watching this on replay, pay attention to the dates that I'm mentioning, because some of these events may have passed. Coming up this Thursday, the 19th, from 4 to 9 p.m. at Margarita's Mexican Restaurant, which happens to be right downstairs from where I tape. Their hosts the return of a husband and wife team of renowned folk artists from Mexico as part of their annual Margarita's Education Outreach Program. You can stop by and interact with the artists as they create colorful and lively wood carvings integrating traditional and modern techniques. This is free and open to the public, and like I said, that's Thursday, April 19th from 4 to 9 p.m. at Margarita's on Elm Street. Also coming up this week, Sunday, April 22nd at 10 a.m. is the Hooksett Lions model railroad show. It'll be held at the Hooksett Colley Middle School, which is up on Whitehall Road in Hooksett. This is their annual railroad show featuring vendors, operating layouts, raffles. They have a white elephant table, food, and clinics. The price is $4 for adults. Children 6 to 12 are $1. Children under 5 are free. And there's a maximum admission fee of $10 per family. Again, that's the Hooksett Lions Model Railroad Show this Sunday, April 22nd, 10 a.m. at Hooksett Colley Middle School in Hooksett. You can buy tickets at the door, or you can purchase them ahead of time on Eventbrite. Just search for Hooksett Lions Railroad Show. I wanted to remind folks that coming up on May 12th, which is, a month away, but it creeps up quickly, the New Horizons Walk Against Hunger will take place, kicks off at noon at Veterans Park. The Manchester Republicans have a walking team. We'd love to have you join us or donate to the cause via our team. You can get more information about how to join the Manchester Republican team and walk in the New Horizons Walk Against Hunger by visiting manchestergop.com and finding information there, or you can go to visit us on our Facebook page as well. And now that hopefully snow's behind us, fingers crossed, it's time to start thinking about spring plant sales. I love plant sales. As you know, Dan and I moved from Parker Street to Varney Street, and while I did dig up a lot of the perennials and split them, whatnot, from Parker to bring to Varney, I have a whole yard that I can plant, which means I have to buy a whole lot of plants this year. The most economical way I've ever found to buy plants that actually work in our climate here in New Hampshire is to go to local garden club plant sales. Two of my favorites are coming up. One's in May, one's in April, or one's in May, one is in June. I'm sorry about that. The first one is May 19th, just a month away. That's the Bedford Garden Club's plant sale. It's held from 9 to 11 in the morning, only 2 hours. And the reason it only lasts 2 hours is it's that good of a plant sale. They have tons of plants and they are gone in 2 hours time. That'll be held at the Old Town Hall on Bedford Center Road. They have a variety of perennials, annuals, herbs, vegetables, ground covers, and shrubs, many of which come from members' own gardens right there from the Bedford Garden Club. So that's May 19th, 9 to 11 a.m. My second favorite plant sale, or maybe it's my favorite plant sale, I guess they're different, is the Friends of the Manchester Animal Shelter 12th Annual Plant Sale and Raffle, which will take place on Saturday, June 2nd. Their rain date is June 3rd. Theirs lasts 9 in the morning till 1 in the afternoon, and it's at the animal shelter which is located at 490 Dunbarton Road. Garden lovers will find a variety of perennials, annuals, herbs, vegetables, houseplants, even small shrubs. And in addition to the diverse selection of plants, they feature a popular raffle, as well as birdhouses that are handcrafted by the Hillside Junior High School Builders Club. Again, that's Saturday, June 2nd, and you can get more information about that or other great ways you can help support the Manchester Animal Shelter at manchesteranimalshelter.org. It's that time of year when the city of Manchester starts picking up yard waste again. You can put your yard waste out at the curb the day of your regular trash pickup. You have to have it out there by 7 a.m. You cannot put stumps or branches greater than 3 inches in diameter or 3 foot in length. Everything must be in biodegradable paper bags, bundles, or you can use a trash barrel as long as you've gone and gotten a yellow city, an orange sticker from the city that says yard waste. This only lasts for 6 weeks, so into about the 3rd week of May. So now's the time to get all your leaves and your sticks bundled up, packaged up appropriately, and put out at the curb for the city to pick up. You can get more information on yard waste pickup by visiting manchesternh.gov/yard waste. Also coming up in May is the Household Hazardous Waste Collection Day. It's held on the second Saturday in May, so that would be May 12th. This takes place at the drop-off facility on Dunbarton Road. You have to bring proof of Manchester residency, and you can bring the following hazardous waste: antifreeze, disinfectants, drain openers, flammables, household cleaners, pesticides, pool chemicals, solvents, and oil-based paints, not latex paints, oil-based paints. You can bring latex paints regularly to the drop-off facility, but on Hazardous Waste Day, only the oil-based paints. Of course, the convenient hours for the drop-off facility on Saturdays are 7:30 in the morning to 1 p.m. in the afternoon. So it is tricky to get in there, and there's usually a line, but it's a good way to dispose of your hazardous waste because you don't want to be dumping them down the drain or throwing them into the landfill. There's no charge for those items. The drop-off facility is regularly open for Manchester residents, Monday through Friday, 7:30 to 3 p.m., which I don't look at me. I think those are awful times to be open for actual residents to be able to go. And then they're open on the first and third Saturdays, 7:30 to 1. Not exactly the most convenient hours, but I never understand why we don't change that. So they're open this Saturday, April 21st, and then they'll be open in May on Saturdays on the 5th and on the 19th. There's a $5 annual fee to use the drop-off facility, and you can bring all sorts of things. You can get more information about that, about yard waste, about trash pickup, all sorts of things at manchesternh.gov/highway. Speaking of giving money to the government, it's time to renew your dog license. If you're a dog owner, state RSA requires that you license your animal if it's 4 months or older. Dog licenses run from May 1st to April 30th, regardless of when you bought it. You need to provide proof of vaccination against rabies, and if your animal is spay or neutered, you have to provide proof of that. The cost for dogs, puppies 4 to 7 months, or neutered or spayed dogs is $7.50 a year. Unspayed or unneutered dogs are $10 a year, and if you're a senior citizen 65 or older, your first dog is just $3 a year. You can register your dog in person at the city clerk's office on Monday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, 8 to 5, or on Tuesdays, 8 to 8, because they actually get the convenience factor and are open late on Tuesday nights. And lastly, it's time to join the Manchester Dog Park Association. If you have a dog and you're renewing your dog license, why not take the time and buy a membership to the Manchester Dog Park Association? It's just $15 for one dog and $10 for each additional dog for those of you who have more than one. Dan and I have been bringing Jenny there for the last few weeks, and she is warmed up completely and loves going, runs around. Trust me, it tires her out and gives us plenty of more quiet time at home. You can find them on Facebook at the Manchester Dog Park. Again, that's the Manchester Dog Park Association, and the Manchester Dog Park located right there on 2nd Street near Bass Island Park. I want to remind people that the Manchester GOP meets monthly on the third Wednesday. That's this coming Wednesday, the 18th. We meet at Murphy's Tap Room at 6 o'clock every month on the third Wednesday. We'd love to see some new faces and get some more people involved in getting good people elected here in Manchester. In the meantime, get out and enjoy downtown Manchester. Take a walk on one of the bike paths. Go downtown and check out one of the businesses that I featured recently. Go down and play a game at Boards and Brews, or go over to AR Workshop and paint a sign for your home. There's a Cooptopia out there right now for $15 off for $30 at Picola. All sorts of great reasons to come downtown. Take a walk, like I said, on the bike path. Dan and I went around Nut Pond over behind the old Shaws on South Willow Street. That's a nice little walk. And you can take the bike path across the river from the baseball park all the way straight into the village of Goffstown. So there's no reason not to get outside. That's all I have for this week. I look forward to seeing you again next week. In the meantime, fingers crossed, no more winter. Bye.